Hello again. In the previous video, we discussed why problem definition is the first and the most important step in policy analysis and program planning. We now turn to a discussion on how we actually define problems in the world of policy analysis and program planning. Problem definition has two components, um, formulating the problem statement and constructing the problem model. The first one, formulating the problem statement, refers to creating a clear and concise description of the issue to be addressed or the condition to be improved upon by the policy or the program. The second one, the problem model, is a portrayal of the factors, either individual or environmental, that give rise to a problem or sustain a problem over time. So the problem statement, the clear and concise description of the issue, and the problem model, the portrayal of the factors that give rise to that problem or sustain it over time. In this video, we will focus on the first one, formulating the problem statement. We will focus on the problem model on the next video. So, to formulate a problem statement, you need to go through 3 steps. The first one is deciding which social problem or condition the analysis is going to focus on, quantifying the magnitude of the social problem or the condition that you're dealing with, and then writing a problem statement in a way that is conducive to analysis. Let's go over each of them. But before I go further, you should know that these steps are iterative. You may start with a condition that you've decided or chosen, and then while you're doing the research to quantify the magnitude of that problem or that issue, you may go back and change the issue. Or after you've quantified it, when you write in the actual problem statement, you may find that you've made a mistake and that you actually want to choose a different issue. So these steps are iterative. You may get to 3 and go back again, or start in 3 and then do 1 as you're doing 3, and so forth. So this is a guide. You still have to go through the 3. The first one, deciding which social problem or condition the analysis is going to focus on, seems rather obvious. Social problems are conditions that affect the community there, like obesity, illiteracy, poverty, substance use disorders, etc. Now, it's important to remember that when we're formulating a problem statement, we need to focus on one of the conditions. We need to pick one. We need to focus on one. But sometimes this is very difficult because in the world we live in, problems are complex, and it's hard to know sometimes which one is the cause, which one is the consequence, and which one is the actual issue that we should be dealing with. For example, consider this dilemma, and this is a real-world scenario. I worked in a project in Santa Cruz called the Serial Inebriate Program, and they decided to focus on an issue out of the list that you have here, right? Now, consider this issue of the number of incidents of public intoxication in Pacific Avenue in Santa Cruz. It started to be in the news. Residents were concerned. Shop owners were concerned about this issue. There were too many incidents of public intoxication, specifically alcohol intoxication, on the streets, right in front of their shops, right? There were a lot of, especially homeless individuals, drinking and sitting on the storefronts. Now, consider that issue of public intoxication and think about what is the real issue there. Which ones are the causes of that issue and what are the consequences? All right. Here's a proposed list homelessness, lack of access to substance use disorder treatment, lack of access to mental health treatment, unemployment, domestic abuse, arrests that have to be made by police, and an overcrowded jail. Now, there were many others, but these are a few just to make this point. Now, the city of Santa Cruz chose to focus on the incidents of public intoxication. The consequence of that was an overcrowded jail, and the causes of these incidents were the lack of access to treatment, the lack of or unemployment, the lack of employment or unemployment, homelessness, domestic abuse, which were leading to these incidents, and those were leading to the overcrowded jail. This is how they decided to continue. Now, across the time, I mean, and over time, and across the stakeholders, some people started questioning that. Some people said we should have focused on the homelessness. The main problem is actually homelessness, which is leading to the overcrowded jail, which is leading to the incidents of public intoxication, obviously. And the causes are the ones that we've discussed. Now, other stakeholders thought, no, the actual issue here is unemployment and the cost of housing in Santa Cruz County, which is leading to domestic abuse, homelessness, overcrowded jail, and the incidents. And the causes are, lack of access to treatment, lack of education, and so forth. But you see where I'm going. You could choose out of this. We're talking about the same problem, right? The people are seeing homeless individuals on the streets drinking in front of storefronts. What is the issue there, right? Is it the actual incident, or is it the homelessness, or is it the unemployment, and so forth? Now, you could go into and doing an analysis of which one comes first and which one comes second, but it's going to be impossible really to come up with an answer that everybody will agree on, right? Because in the real world, some issues are causes and consequences, right? There is a type of circular causality that goes on. For example, you may argue that domestic abuse is a cause of unemployment, but unemployment is also a cause of domestic abuse. They feed on each other. Also, you may say that the lack of access to SUD treatment is the cause of incidents of public intoxication, but the incidents of public intoxication may also be a cause of the lack of treatment, because many of these individuals end up with felonies or misdemeanors, and then they are banned or barred from some treatments. So it's going to be almost impossible to decide, to come up with a technical way to really choose which one is the real issue. So you're going to have to decide. That's the good news and the bad news at the same time. And the good news is that you get to decide. The bad news is that people may not agree with your decision, right? And this decision, there is no way to make it objective. There's no way to make it technical. It is a strategic decision, right? Now, it should be informed by the stakeholders, and it's a strategic decision anyway, that it's based on funding considerations sometimes. There are also political considerations that go into this decision of which issue we're going to pick for a problem statement that is going to guide the program that we're going to implement. Now, in the case of the program that I was the example I was talking about, there were funding considerations for picking that specific issue of the incidents as they related to the arrests and the jail, because there were the program was partly funded by law enforcement. So by focusing on that, they sort of tied into that funding stream. Other programs that deal with funding for the homeless may be more suited for choosing homelessness as the issue. But anyway, this is a strategic decision that that should be done early on when you're writing your problem. Now, once you've made that decision, right, of which condition you will focus on, you need to assemble some evidence and go into step number 2, that is to quantify the magnitude of this condition. How big is it? How big of a problem is this, right? You need to get at least numbers on how many are affected, right? That's the prevalence. You probably will be needing also some numbers on how much the condition is growing over a period of time, right? This is the incidence. You may also ask, what is the condition, if the condition is more prevalent in some groups within your community than others, or whether this condition is worse in your community than it is in others, or is it better in your community than it is in others. So numbers on how big the condition is, or how much it is affecting people, or how many people are affected, how much that number is growing over time, is it affecting everybody equally, and is it affecting your community more than it is affecting other communities. You should get at least these numbers. Now, some conditions in some communities are easier to quantify. There is data readily available for them. Others are not. So for some government agencies, collect data on some conditions, but some do it only at the state level, some do it only as at a county level. And if you want to focus on a city, let's say, there probably isn't data available at that level of that geography. So you may have to collect your own data. You may have to ask stakeholders, key informants that will guide you in the direction of where to get these numbers, or how prevalent the condition is. You may have to collect your own surveys or do your own interviews. Now, once you've decided on the issue and you have done some research on it to quantify the magnitude of the condition, it's time to write your problem statement. Now, we want to have this statement, and this statement of the problem, remember, it is a short description of the issue that you're going to be dealing with. And this statement is going to guide all the other steps in the program plan or the policy analysis. So there are 4 guidelines to writing a solid problem statement. The first one is state the problem as a condition that actually affects individuals. The second one is make the statement evaluative. That means state it as a problem. 3, make sure that you don't have a solution embedded in the problem statement. And the last one, provide tractable boundaries. Let's go over each of them. You need to state the problem as a condition that affects individuals. Why? Because everything that we do is about people. The problem is not about a concept or an abstract idea. It is about people. And this has to be stated explicitly in the problem statement. Consider the following example. If we were to say that the problem is poverty, right? Poverty itself is just a concept, right? The problem is people living in poverty. This is a condition. It becomes a condition or a problematic condition when it starts affecting people, right? Poverty as a concept is not really a problem. It becomes a problem when it is affecting people. You have to state that explicitly. People living in poverty are the problem, not poverty in general. Substance use disorders. Is that a problem? Not in itself. A disorder is a concept, it's a condition in the abstract. But when it affects people, it becomes a problem, right? So people suffering from substance use disorders, that is a problem. Substance use disorders per se are not. So always state it as a condition affecting people. The second guideline for writing a good problem statement is to make the statement evaluative. That means state it as a problem. An evaluative statement gives judgment about something. You're saying this is good, this is bad, this is too high, this is too low. That's an evaluative statement. And that's how our problem needs to be stated. So, in the world of program planning and policy analysis, to create evaluative statements, it often helps to state the problem in terms of deficits or excesses. Too low, too big, growing too fast, or not growing fast enough, etc. Let me give you an example. Let's look at this problem. People living in poverty. Is that a problem? No, that's just a general statement. However, if you say too many people are living in poverty, then that's an evaluative statement. You are saying that you know the number, you research the number, and you consider that number to be too high. There's too many people living in poverty, and that's what makes it a problem, right? Or consider this one, high school dropouts. Is that a problem? Not as it's stated. But if you were to state it as too many children are dropping out of high school, then you know the number and you're saying that that number is actually too high, right? It has become a problem. Or if you were looking at the problem over time, maybe you can state it as the high school dropout rate is rising too fast, right? We had a dropout rate, and that's the number of the percentage of kids who were dropping out of high school, and that percentage has been increasing at a dangerous level. It's growing too fast. That makes it a problem. Not just the high school dropouts. That's a general statement, but the fact that they're growing too fast. That's what you're making it. That's how you make it a problem. Now, the third guideline for writing a problem statement is to not include a solution in your problem statement. Now, this is a common pitfall for analysts that start with a solution in mind. Too many times we go into a program and we already know what the solution is, and we tend to think of the problem as the lack of that solution, right? And if we include a solution in the problem, then we are constrained because that problem only has one solution. And if you do this, there are no options. You are closed. You cannot do any more analysis in that program or for that problem. So let me give you an example. Too many students lack computers. Now, that statement, that problem statement, has a solution embedded in it, right? There is only one solution, and that solution is to give students computers. There is no other solution because of the way you've stated the problem. The problem already has a solution in it, so it only has one solution. Now, that is wrong, right? If you find yourself with a problem statement that only has one solution, then chances are you already put the solution in that problem. That is a mistake and you have to go back. Now, to fix it, it often helps to think about what is the consequence of not having the solution that you embedded in the problem. Make that solution, put it there, and think about what the consequence of the lack of that solution is. And that may be the social problem you are looking for. Let's think about the example that I gave you before. Too many students lack computers. That one has a solution embedded in it. So how about we think about the lack of computers as a cause of some larger problem? Ask yourself, what is the consequence of students lacking computers? And that, where that where that question mark is, that when you fill that in, that may be the social problem that you're actually wanting to find, the social problem that you want to focus on. So what is the consequence of students lacking computers? Well, maybe it is that too many students are failing in school, right? That one, too many students are failing in school, doesn't have a solution embedded in it, right? And it may be a consequence of students lacking computers, right? Now we've opened up the problem to the real issue, right? From a lack of computers, now we've made it about the real issue, which is that they're failing in schools. Now that we've done this, we may find other causes for it, like maybe too many students lacking tutoring, too many students lacking after school programs, too many students going to school hungry, for that matter, or a combination of all of them may be causing them to be failing in schools. Right? Now that we've opened the problem, we can analyze it in a more thorough way. Right? When we constrain ourselves to just a lack of computers, we were stuck. So do not embed a solution into the problem statement. Right? If you find yourself in that situation, when your problem statement only has one solution to it, you probably embedded a solution in it. So you have to go back and find the real problem. Now, if your problem statement includes the words lack or need, chances are you have a solution in your problem statement. So be careful with these words, lack or need. Like too many students need computers, or too many students lack computers, or students need an after-school program, right? When you have these terms, usually you are embedding a solution in it. So avoid that. The last tip, let's say, or advice on writing your problem statement is to provide tractable boundaries. Be clear and explicit about the population you are focusing on. Usually the boundaries are geographic or institutional. Now, if the program is going to serve a subset of the population, then that subset has to be stated in the problem statement, right? That's redundant, but that's how it needs to be. Now, for example, if your problem statement is too many people are living in poverty, well, that could be the city, that could be the county, that could be the state, that could be the country, that could be the continent, that could be the world, or the universe for that matter. But if you say too many people in Monterey County are living in poverty, then you're constraining it just to the county, and you're letting everybody know that your program is going to target Monterey County. So you have to be explicit and specific about who you are targeting for your problem analysis, and that's the same population that you're probably going to be helping with your program or policy. So in summary, we've discussed the one component of problem definition, that's formulating the problem statement. There is a second component, which is constructing the problem model. But in this video, we focused on the first one. And we said that there are three steps in formulating a problem statement. The first one is deciding which issue or which condition the analysis is going to focus on. The second is quantifying the problem. And the third one is writing the problem statement. Now, for writing the problem statement, we discussed 4 guidelines. The first one is to make it about people, to make it about a condition that affects people, to make it evaluative, to avoid including a solution in the statement, and to provide tractable boundaries. And that's how you formulate your problem statement. In the next video, we will talk about how to construct a problem model. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching, and take care.